I don't know, I just felt completely and utterly connected and completely and utterly, oh my God, this is it. This is what I need to be doing. It just completely and utterly into my soul. And
It just
yeah,
gave
it's
me
just,
goosebumps.
I can't tell you. Even now, it just makes me feel, yeah, it really does make me feel, even now, it makes me feel it's exactly the same. And I just can't stop smiling about that.
Corinne, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm always fascinated by people's stories and experiences, and I think there's so much learning that people can have from other people's experiences without having to go through it yourself. You know, and if you can find a way to shortcut or bypass, what a pleasure. So I'm just going to hand the floor over to you, and you can just share a little bit about, you know, who you are and what happened. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Karen Goddard. I've always been interested in personal development since I was sort of in my teens. I had a really nice upbringing. I live in Devon in the UK, which is in a tiny little seaside town, and it was lovely. And I had a really nice childhood until I got to a teenager, and then I realised that actually things weren't quite as rosy as I thought. Um, and my father is a manic depressive, which has been shielded from me up to that point. And he is an alcoholic based on that. And my poor mum just couldn't cope with it very well, so she would just go off to bed a lot with headaches. My sister, who's 10 years older than me, she has agoraphobia, so she doesn't go out, and she had that from a very young age. So I was about 6 and she was about 16 when she first got it. So again, it's all quite traumatic for a little girl growing up in that household, but I was really shielded, so I was very lucky until I got old enough to understand what was going on. And then, I mean, things weren't awful, but it was just, you knew that something was wrong, and your family was completely different than everybody else's. And I used to think it was just me. I thought, you know, I used to say, if a psychiatrist got hold of me, they wouldn't know what to do with me. Because I didn't realise that most families have something in their life going on. And yeah, you just think it's you when you're that age. So quite sad. I struggled quite a lot with bullying as well. I was really skinny then when I was a teenager and just hated school. So when I finished school, I left home when I was 16, 17, because I just wanted out. I went to live with somebody who was 6 years older than me, which wasn't a learning curve, to say the least. I was with him for three odd years. That was fine. But that's when I started doing more personal development, and just sort of some self growth. Because I just needed something in my life that was positive. He wasn't particularly positive either. Anyway, so yeah, so that was good. First learned about Tony Robbins and did lots of courses and was just blown away by Tony Robbins in the 90s. Then we split up, and then I went and did for somebody else. So just went from one to another, and was with him for 10 years, and that was a really dysfunctional love affair as well. It was just until you're older and can see back and think, goodness, why did I do that? But again, personal development just kept popping up, and you know, I went to different things, and they said, oh, you should be an entrepreneur, you should be looking at your finances, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, and I kept always getting stuck. I'd get so far with doing a personal development training, and then I would get stuck. And I believe that it was my personality and my lack of self-worth that kept stopping me. And they would say, oh yeah, you need to find, you know, where your blocks are, what your limiting beliefs are. And I was like, I don't know what they are. If I knew what they are, I would get rid of them, but I don't know what they are. And I just found it really frustrating. And I was almost quite angry with the whole personal development world, because nobody could help me and tell me what I needed to do next. I'm sure they would have if I'd spent lots of money, but I didn't have a lot of money at that time. So I'm trained to be an accountant, which is very boring. I'm not really an accountant person. I'm quite a bubbly, chatty person, and being an accountant sitting looking at numbers all day is not really You wouldn't put the two things together, but I actually love it. I do like it. I like a good spreadsheet. But yeah, so I've learned loads and loads of different things over the time. I've learned how to be a coach. I went on a coaching course, did that. I did an NLP course, did that. But never really fell in love with anything. Never really felt that I could give back and just find my purpose. And I struggled and struggled and struggled, and did all of those, when you do the Venn diagram and the two you're meant to meet, and that's where your purpose is. I just couldn't find anything that just made me sing. And then 2 years ago, I decided that enough is enough. By this time, I've been now married to a beautiful man who I manifested, which is another story completely. Lovely man who I've been married to now for 25 years. We're very, very happy. He is lovely, and completely supportive. And I think that was my turning point, that I needed to find what my purpose was, what was stopping me all those years and years of personal development and getting nowhere. So I read some books and watched some CDs and DVDs, and I don't share my age, CDs, watched some DVDs, and just really concentrated on gratitude, and really concentrated on something called Ho'oponopono, which is the prayer of forgiveness. So it's, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And I just said that over and over again, and just asked the universe to send me what I needed to do next. And I was just flicking through the internet, and up popped an advert for Breathwork. I thought, oh, I haven't had a go at that. I've had a go at everything else, so I'll have a go at that. So I went on the call to find out more about Breathwork. They sent me a link. I did the journey. So basically what Breathwork is that you breathe really deeply and you get into theta state, and that gives you the access to your subconscious mind. So I did this beautiful journey, and it takes about an hour and 20, and afterwards I sort of came to my real life, and I was just like, the sun was shining in, and I don't know, I just felt completely and utterly connected, and completely and utterly, oh my God, this is it. This is what I need to be doing. It just completely and utterly into my soul. And
just gave me goosebumps.
I can't tell you, even now it just makes me feel, it really does make me feel, even now it makes me feel exactly the same, and I just can't stop smiling about that. So so that was it really. I was hooked. So went and did the course to how to become a breathwork coach, and breathwork is just an amazing medicine. Just, you wouldn't think, something you do every single day, just normal breathing, would make such a difference, and it's had huge effects on my life. It just slows me down. I'm quite you can probably tell I talk really fast. I'm quite a little bubbly thing, and I get quite het up about things, and I get quite anxious about things. Obviously with my family's mental health issues, I'm quite aware. I sort of go to the other nth degree. So with my sister being agoraphobic and not going out, I'm the one who's always out. With my dad drinking and having quite an addictive personality, I was probably addicted to personal development, if I'm honest. I'm quite aware of not to go too far with anything. So this has really brought me back down to earth, and I can deal with my anxiety, I can deal with my stress levels a lot better. Just, I don't always remember. I still do lose it. But it's lovely just to be able to know that at any point in time I can just take a breath and just come back down to my center and just stop running and stop just going over and over and over and being, all wound up. Amazing. And then, so I've I now do breathwork coaching to help people have the same feeling as me, really, just to move forward. So, it's great. And I can tell you a bit more about that if you to, or do you want to ask any
Yeah,
questions?
well, I'm going to ask. I've got a lot of questions, but let's just go back a little bit. Okay, so
Okay.
you say you were quite shielded. Do you think that shieldedness is more a case of, like when there's something going on in the family, people tend to keep it close because we don't want to share our issues with the rest of the world. So more of, the word is a nice word, but is it more of a case of being isolated?
I think my mum was definitely isolated. I don't think she had any outlet at all to get any help. And we're going back to the sort of the 1970s, 80s. And in the 1970s, there wasn't help around. They just gave you drugs, and that was it. Just take some more, take another pill. So we were definitely, we were isolated. But I think because I was a little, that they did just try to shield me and give me the best childhood ever. I spent my weekends on the beach with friends. But then I did have to go home and realise, my sister, with my sister's agoraphobia, it was quite difficult because she's very obsessionable. So she would, I was 6, she was 16, and she'd be looking under her bed for snakes, and she'd be doing routines. She gets that she's OCD as well, so she'd have routines and things all the time. And so my little 6-year-old brain was just like, oh, last year she took me to the beach, this year she doesn't want to take me to the beach, and why is she doing all of this? And and my mum and dad would try and tell me things about it, and I just had to make my own little way in it. So I think nowadays it's probably a little bit easier because people are more open with mental health issues, and maybe you aren't quite so isolated from that. But I definitely felt like it was just me in my little world.
Yeah, it's almost like living 2 lives, because on the one hand, you've just got to be part of the family, and on the other hand, you feel like there's another world inside of you that nobody gets to know and you don't get to share.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I really believe that nobody else had issues. It was just our family which had an issue, which is madness now.
Well, you know what, like social media does. Everybody's having this amazing life, but behind it all, they're miserable. It can make you really depressed.
Well, we didn't have any of that.
So I'm glad you found. Yeah, sorry. So you say?
I said we didn't have social media when I was growing up, so that was a good thing, I suppose.
No, you just got to see what was going on around in the world.
Yeah.
So, it's like when you found the books and you found Tony Robbins and that, how was that for you? Like just to open up your world? Because I know for me what it did, but how was that for you?
So, I remember watching the first infomercial, and it was one of the first ones on the TV over here. I was just like, I could have that. Really? That could be me. So I was completely blown away, and I've signed up for a course and got books and things, and tried to follow it. But again, I think that was the problem. I think when you try to do something by yourself, it's quite hard. Whereas if I'd joined a group of people, or if I'd actually had a proper coach at that point, then my life would have been so different, so much quicker. But I was quite angry by the time, sort of 4 or 5 years in. I was actually quite angry that I hadn't done it, and he'd given me this taste of what life could be, and I just couldn't get there. So I was getting really frustrated with it. Blown away.
Well, you know what, it's like again, a school teacher, and you haven't started school yet. It's like there's so many years of experience that goes in between. But that's why you probably do what you do, because nobody's there to show you. So now you can show people, because you didn't have the teacher. You didn't have that. So that is also part of the purpose, is going through the pain of it.
Yeah.
So now your husbands, your partners were these dysfunctional relationships that you had. So obviously I'm going to assume that you learned that this is not what you want. So now you've manifested your husband. How did you do that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I've been in 2 long relationships, which both ended up with me leaving and being, I won't say homeless because I had somewhere to go, but I had to sort somewhere out and start all over again. So I'd got to the point where, so it was the second time that I'd had to leave everything behind and have nothing. And I decided that at that point, right, I know how to manifest. I know what I need to do. This is what I want. So universe, send me. I want somebody who is reliable, who's funny, who's taller than me. I'm 5'10", and the guy who I was with for 10 years was only 5'6", and he had such an issue with it. So that was just got on my nerves. So definitely somebody tall, somebody who just made me smile and made me happy, somebody who cared about me and who loved me, and somebody who wanted to marry me. Whereas the other two had just been like, yeah, one day, Karen. And just somebody who I could be with and be me with. Because with the other two, I was always being somebody else. I was never myself. I was always being what I thought they wanted me to be. So whether it was, I'd get up, I'd come home from work and I'd redo all my makeup and change and look gorgeous. And that's not how life really works. You get home and you think, chuck your hair up, you put your Jimmy Jams on or whatever, It wasn't real life, but I did that for like 14 years, and just tried to be this perfect wife, which I wasn't a wife. So when I decided to manifest, I was just like, I need to be me. I need to be able to say what I want to do, go and do what I want to do, be respectful of him, and him be respectful to me, but actually that I can be me. So if I want to not put makeup on that day, I'm not going to put makeup on that day. If I want to look a complete mess, I can look a complete mess. And just to be able to relax, because I was always on edge. And so, I put that out there, and I went to, and forgot about it really. And I'd only been single for about 6 to 8 weeks. And I went to my friend's hen night, and her cousin was picking us all up to go off to the hen night. And he was lovely. And I thought, oh, really nice. I'll just start talking to you. And he happened to live like 4 doors up from my friend whose hen night it was. And so he came around the next day and we had coffee, and then we went out for drinks and in a big group, and he was always very attentive to me and he was lovely. And then I was getting the train back from my hen night to my house, and he dropped me off and he kissed me. And I got on it wasn't train, it was on the coach. I got on the coach, and this little old lady he was sat next to me, and she said, "You all right, love?" And I was just like, yeah, I think I've just kissed the man I'm going to marry. And we were engaged within 3 months. And it was just...
That's amazing.
It was beautiful. And again, it still makes me cry. So yeah, it was just amazing. And the universe just came through 100%. So yeah, it was time.
I think a lot of that was to do with your self-worth, or, it's like the chicken and the egg. Did your decision say, no, I'm worth more, therefore I'm going to manifest somebody who's worth more, or I'm going to face someone who's worth more to prove that I'm worth more?
I think I decided that I was worth more. I think I'd had enough.
Yeah.
I think
that's where people get stuck, because they think they need somebody to tell them and somebody to show them and someone to prove it to them, and it doesn't come from outside. It comes from inside. And it's just a decision. It's like a moment you draw in the sand and say no more.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But you needed those relationships to realize that.
Oh, yeah. And I got so much from them. I mean, they were completely different. The first one was a chef, so he taught me to cook. The second one loved music, we went out all the time and ate out all the time. I learned about wine with him, I learned how not to have a relationship. So yeah, you just learn, don't you? I mean, and I think that's really my philosophy of life, is you just have to learn as you go along, you know, so, and don't look back really, just treasure the good bits and don't get head up on the bad bits.
Well, now you appreciate your relationship even more, because you know what you had before, and you know that it's not just a random thing. It's an effort, and it requires work on both sides. Absolutely. Okay, now so tell me about your breath work. So I am fascinated. That's why I reached out to you, because really the breath work to me is a big mystery. So I'm going to ask you, first of all, how does it work? How do you get into theta stage, and can anybody do it?
Absolutely. Right. So there's 2 parts to what I do. So the first part is to explain to people that you're probably breathing wrong. Because we are all over breathers. We're breathing far too fast and far too shallow. You should be breathing, and I still do it now, but you're just being mindful within the day. So what we need to be doing is breathing through our noses and breathing as low and slow and deep as possible, and just break it down. So what I tend to do is, because I forget, because we just breathe automatically, don't we? But what I tend to do is try and set times of the day when I just spend 2 or 3 minutes just slowing it all down. And what that does is it just changes the chemistry in your body, and it has an effect on your nervous system. So it's so important just to slow your breath down. And it's just so easy. Just literally slow your breath. The other thing that you can use it for is for if you're getting anxious about something. So you've probably all done it before. You all do you hold your breath because so I did it the other day. I was getting really annoyed about something. I can't even remember what it was. Something, I was working for somebody, and I was getting quite tense. And I was just like, just breathe, Karen. Just breathe. And I do box breathing because I find that's really easy. It really works for me. So 4 breaths in, hold, 4 breaths out, hold. And then just repeat that 3 or 4 times. And your body just goes into this sense of, So yeah, anybody can do that. And there's lots of different things that you can do with your breath. You can do faster breathing because that will give you some more energy. There's lots of things. I'm putting something together actually. I'm just about to launch my website again, and I want to put in some juicy bits in there. So I'll send you the link so you can share with people, because it is just amazing that how much your breath can just make a difference to how your well-being is. The second part, which is the really exciting part, not that your health isn't exciting, because obviously it's very important, very exciting, but the breathwork journeys. So the company that I trained with are called Breathmasters, and the guy who was leading it is called Brian Kelly, and he is the most passionate, authentic man I have ever met. He is so excited about life. He's so excited about breath, and the way he portrays it, you can't help but get excited about it. So in COVID, he put together some journeys for people, so he could send them out rather than having to do them in person. And he realised that actually so many different things to the breath work. So what's happened is he's created these breathwork journeys. Now they're called 9D breathwork. So there's 9 different dimensions of sound. So you've got, and I'm not going to remember them all because I always forget some of them. So I'll tell you some of them that I can remember. So you have affirmations. So you have he'll do you a guided, it's like a bit like a guided meditation, as well as music behind that. You've got affirmations, you've got messaging, you've got sound waves, you've got the sound bars, you've got lots of other things which I can't think of because I haven't got enough fingers, but lots of different layers of different sounds, and it just brings together this almighty stereo effect of beautiful sound. It is amazing. And so the journeys take about an hour 20, an hour and a half, and we tell you how to breathe. So you go into breathing very deeply, very low, very slow. And as you breathe, and you breathe through your mouth, unless you've got some conditions, then we always look at what health conditions you've got. And if you can't breathe through, you shouldn't be breathing through your mouth, then we'll ask you to breathe through your nose and just calm it down a little bit. You are always in control. You can breathe as quickly or as slowly as you want. And if you feel uncomfortable, then you suddenly can just breathe as normally, and it just takes you back out. But you breathe nice and low, slow and deep, and that takes you, and you just relax, and you're just listening to this soundtrack, and that takes you into theta state. Now it takes about 15 minutes of deep breathing to get into that state. And once you're in that state, then your subconscious mind is then accessible. Now your subconscious mind makes between 75 and 95% of your decisions without you even doing anything. Your subconscious mind is working all by itself. So we want your subconscious mind to be doing positive things, not negative things, not doing that monkey mind going, you don't want to be doing that, you don't want to be doing that, you can't do that, you're not worthy of it, you're not worthy of love, you're not worthy of all those horrible things that your little mind can tell you at times. So by getting into theta state, your monkey mind will quiet down, which is lovely for me because my brain's got like this all the whole time. And so we can then go through the journey, and the music builds and your breathing builds and the whole tenseness builds until we sort of have a little crescendo of we'll get you to scream and just release that energy. And by releasing that energy, and it's just gone. All those things that you've been holding on to, not all of them, because obviously we've got lots of different layers, but whatever we've tried to help you with through this journey, it's just gone because you just expelled it in that energy moment. And then we build it back up and we put lovely positive affirmations and positive things and positive energy all back where that negativity was. And then we get you to, when you come round after the hour and a half, and then you just have this, I've never met anybody who hasn't come out going, because it is just by the end. And you just have this feeling of just like, I'm not quite sure what's happened, but something's moved, something's changed, something's gone. And I just have this incredible sense of, it doesn't always come straight away because there's some very heavy going stuff in there. But you always feel after a couple of days, if not straight away, you feel like there's some sort of clarity or sense of peace or just some sort of release. And yeah, it's just amazing. It's amazing. So we listen to this soundtrack, and then what my job is, obviously, is press play, but my job is to be there for you and hold space. And just because you can, when you're trying to expel energy, if your body is touched, like your arms touched or your legs are touched, it helps you expel that energy. So it's amazing. It is just
Does it help to have an intention before you start? So if somebody wanted to work on something specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. But you don't have to. Again, sometimes you don't know what your intention is particularly. Sometimes it can just be a matter of, I'm just going to go with this. I'm not really sure what I want to get rid of. But sometimes there is. And we usually have time at the beginning just to set your intention. So that's sort of up to you how you deal with that.
Yeah.
We use visualization as well. Now I really struggle with visualization. My little brain just can't. Sometimes I can, but sometimes I can't. I can, as long as I'm not asked to do it. If somebody says, visualize that, I was like, no. So, yes, sometimes I get a little bit wound up about that, but actually, if you just go with it and just listen to the words, and your mind pulls it all together anyway. But yeah, it is amazing. And the 9D, I mean, you can do breathwork without the nine different levels of sound. I do know how to do that. That's how I was originally trained. But the 9 different levels, because it has different effects on your brain with the different sounds and the different wavelengths, it just gives you all of those different dimensions that you're being worked on.
It sounds amazing. So I've done a few interviews with people that work specifically with sound healing. And there's something to that because you're not the first person to say it. And everything is linked. Everything in the universe is linked. I mean, there's a sound of the universe even. So I think it's about accessing that, because when you access that, you access your higher self. And maybe that is just what it is. It's like knowing that there's infinite peace out there. You don't have to be grinding away at earth, Some things are just not that important. We get so caught up in certain things, and it's actually, there's more to life than just what's happening today without getting so stressed up about it. Yeah. So the reason why I asked who could do it is because I like to use myself as an example for 2 reasons. One, I feel privileged that I get to speak to all these people. I get first-hand advice. But secondly, I don't know anybody else who's struggling, so I'll just use me as the guinea pig. But I got mold in my lungs about 6 years ago, and I was really sick. I couldn't breathe. So I value breath more than anything else. If somebody smokes, I'm like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
But I tried to do Wim Hof's breathing method, where you do a lot of short breaths, but I actually couldn't do it because it actually triggered an asthma attack. So is that something that anybody could do and should do? Because I find, for me, very slow, deep breathing can calm me down. It can remove an asthma attack. But there's some days that I'm just not able to do that. It's just not possible.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, there's different ways. There's a great big book that this guy wrote, and I can't think what it's called. It'll come to me. It'll come to me in a minute. But he's in this book. It has got all, probably every illness that you can think of, and how the breath can help it. So
wow.
There are so many things that the breath can do. Now, because it's all down to your nervous system again, because your nervous system has the effect on everything. So yes, definitely you could. And some days you aren't going to be able to. Some days you are going to feel. It all depends on your environment. It all depends on your stress levels. It all depends on what's going on in your body that day. And some days you aren't going to feel like you can breathe in that way. But yeah, there's definitely things you can do, and it's something that I want to build on. I'm still in very early stages of building my business. But asthma is something that a few of my friends have got, and I want to build up a little session that can help people with asthma, because I think it's so important, because you could just be free of it. There is something called the tongue method that you can actually, sometimes you need somebody to work with, and it only takes sort of 10-15 minutes, but it just gets you into that rhythm of breathing, and it will help you. So yeah, definitely something. And again, something that I'm going to build into my website for people to just go and be able to help themselves, because a bit like Brian Kelly, who's my mentor, I want to give back. I want to make sure that everybody can have access to things that they need in that way. So definitely about the asthma, I can help you with. Definitely for everyday breathing, I want to help you with. And then obviously you'll have to pay for my journeys. But, if I can give it to you for free, then I will give it to you for free, because I just believe that if we can make the world a better place, then everybody's going to benefit. So, and that is my purpose. I just truly 100% feel that my purpose is to do this and to share it. So,
yeah. Thank you. Is the breathing work linked to the vagus nerve?
Yes. Yeah. And I struggle with all the scientific bits. So that's something that I'm not going to comment on, because I'll get it wrong.
I was just curious.
Yeah, no, it is. It's definitely, it's all to do with that. And your whole system is just affected by your breath.
Yeah, I mean, many years ago I was doing Kundalini breathing, where you doing the dragon's breath, and it's a lot of that recycling, but you really got to pull in your stomach. So I'm assuming that is actually affecting your vagus nerve directly, which is your nervous system, your central nervous system. Yeah. So what would you say to somebody? Now, I have this quite frequently. I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm panting. I cannot slow my breathing down. I can't do it. I actually have to get up and go and do something physical just to get myself out of it. Now, I was watching I don't know, you don't specialize in astral travel and stuff like that, but I was listening to a lady who said that it's probably something that happened in your sleep, that you were astral traveling and something traumatic was happening, and that's why you woke up. Your body was going into fight or flight. But how do you slow that down? And is it something you think you could do during the day, or I could do during the day, just to calm down? Or is it something, because I can't sleep. If I'm breathing, hyper breathing, there's no way I can just calm it down. There's no way I can go back to sleep in that state. I will just lie awake the whole night then.
I haven't heard of that before. I would say yes. I think if you did the like I said, the box breathing throughout the day, and just being aware, I mean, even if it's not the box breathing, just slow your breath down throughout the day and just be aware. So what I tend to do is I'll do 5 minutes in the morning, sometime halfway through the day. If I'm getting a quick coffee, then I literally do 2 or 3. While I'm waiting for the kettle to boil, I'll do 2 or 3 rounds of just slowing down. Then at lunchtime, then again in the afternoon when I'm waiting for the coffee to make, and then one in the evening, and then before I go to bed. So throughout the day, I've got little times when I'm really mindful of how I'm breathing, and I think that helps. The other thing, and again, it's something that I need to look at a bit more and find out a bit more and put something together for you, is when we breathe at night, we tend to end up breathing through our mouth, and that's why so many people snore. Because it's just how my body is. Your jaw relaxes as your head goes back to sleep, and then you end up breathing through your mouth and you end up snoring. if you can use sleep, you can have strip. You can put strips over your mouth.
I
So
do. I
just to
sleep with
breathe.
tape on my mouth.
Right. That should help
Yeah.
with, because again, you're not expelling all of that air while you're asleep. So that should help. Regarding the pantings, I don't know, to be honest, but it could be something that if you did a journey, you could just let go of it potentially.
I wonder.
I've never heard of
mean,
anything like.
again, everything is just part of the healing journey, part of the process. But like I said, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes than what we're aware of. But it's about bringing it to our awareness. We can become conscious of it. Then it doesn't control you. You control your reaction to things. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
It is. It's fascinating. So, if people wanted to get to know more about what it is you do, how can they get hold of you?
Absolutely. So I have got a website at the moment, but I am redesigning it slightly at the moment, and which would be ideal for yourselves because you're obviously not in England, so we can get together. So website's called breathworkjourneys.co.uk, and in there I'm going to be having a membership site. So for £35 English UK money, £35 a month, £36 a month, £36 a month. We're going to be doing a monthly breathwork altogether online. And then what we'll do in between is I'll send you lots of juicy bits of things to do to obviously help your breath, but also all the things that I've learned over the years from all that information that I collected over personal development. I'm sure I can share lots of things with people that I haven't heard before or even just forgotten, because most things are just recycled, to be fair. Just in a slightly different way, but and have some sort of structure. Because my theory again is I really needed a coach back 20, 30 years ago, but I couldn't afford one. If somebody had come to me and said, you can have this each month as a journey, which releases some of the stuff that you've been holding on to, the limiting beliefs, the ideas that you've got in your head that in your mind, but your subconscious mind is using it, I get some coaching in between as well. And it's a reasonable figure compared to most coaches are a lot more. So I just want it to be accessible to people.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. And now I remember what I was going to say. So I like what you've done with, I'm boiling the kettle, let me do the breath work while I'm waiting. Because so many people say, we don't have time. I don't have time to do that. I'm too busy. But, you can be going to fetch the kids, and while you're waiting for them in the car, do it. Yeah. While you're at the grocery store in the line, do it. You don't have to be in your chair with your eyes closed telling the world to keep quiet. In fact, it's about being part of the world and not trying to get out of the world to do it.
Yeah.
And that's a habit you can create. And it's so powerful, because then you don't get annoyed in the traffic, and you don't get annoyed because your children are running late, because you're actually enjoying yourself. You can say, please take your time while you're walking out of school, or it's in that time. And I think that is a really nice way to do it. I set my alarm 3 times a day to do my gratitude stuff, just to remind me.
So just add that on, because it literally another 2 or 3 minutes, and then you've done your breath work at the same time. So, I mean, the phones are brilliant, aren't they? Because you can just put a little reminder on. It does.
Yes.
I use mine as well for different things. So I've got menopause brain as well. So it's always good.
I think it's a lot of things. The world we're in, the foods we're eating, the toxins, it's so much going on at the moment.
Yeah.
All right. And then I'm presuming they can find you on the Facebook as well if they wanted to.
Yeah. So if I send you a link, and then maybe you could send the links out to people? That would be great.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
But I'm on Facebook. Yeah, you can hear me waffling on Facebook as well.
All right. Well, so do you have any message you'd like to share with everybody?
Just practice breathing, of how you should be breathing nice and low and slow, because it just will make such a difference to you. And you have got control. You don't need to. you're reacting. Everything that happens, we react to, and you can decide how you react. So if you react calmly, you'll get a lot more out of life than trying to do in the flight and fight mode. You can be in control of that. So that would be what I would say, is use your breath to decide how you want to react to things.
Thank you. Love that.
Thank you.
Karen, thank you so much. And I appreciate everything you've shared. I would love to join one of your journeys. I think they sound amazing.
Brilliant.
And so you can let us know when it's ready, and I'll let everybody know as well.
Oh, thank you, Natasha.
Great.
Brilliant. Lovely. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, me too. Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye.